All right, let's get this show on the road. So once again, hello everybody, and those of you who have joined us in the last couple of minutes. Thanks so much for coming to hear 5 steps to designing psychologically powerful landing pages with me and Andre Morris from WebArts. Now, before we get started, I just quickly want to introduce Unbounce. So I'm from Unbounce. We are a landing page builder for marketers. We create software for marketers like you so you can build, publish, and A/B test landing pages without having to rely on IT or developers like you may have had to do in the past. If you want to stick around after today's session, you'll see how we used Unbounce ourselves to build the webinar registration page that you encountered when you registered for today's session. So we'll show you why you'd want to use Unbounce, how the page builder works, some of the benefits of using it. We've got killer features like dynamic text replacement. You can build responsive landing pages. We've got amazing design features, some of which we're even launching tomorrow, and just like really killer infrastructure to make sure that you build super fast pages that are really reliable. But we're not going to talk about that during the session. The session is all about the psychology of marketing and landing pages, and then we'll talk afterwards about Unbounce. So if you're interested, please stick around after the webinar. Like I said, you'll see how Unbounce can help you quickly build, publish targeted landing pages. You don't have to code. You don't need to be a designer. We've got templates for you. So it's all good. I was going to say it's kind of idiot-proof, but that's sort of offensive. So maybe I'll just say it works really well, and you don't have to be super technically apt. So now that I have probably offended everyone, let me introduce myself. I'm Ryan Ingley. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at Unbounce. And along with my team, it's really our job to make sure that if you decide to try our service, that we'll give you everything you need to do, everything you need to be successful. So that includes technical support. We're here for, if you want to call us, we have phone, live chat, email. We're building an amazing new academy of educational resources. And once again, if you stick around towards the end, I'll show you some of that. Some of the improvements launched today. So super exciting to be announcing the academy today. Like I said, tomorrow we've got new design features coming out. So there's a ton of exciting stuff in the pipeline for Unbounce that I'd like to share with you. But that's not what this session is about. First and foremost, as I said, this session is all about building, psychologically effective landing pages, and the man of the hour is Andre Morris here. So Andre is the founder of WebArts. He's a university lecturer in the area of conversion optimization, or CRO. He's authored the best-selling book called, you know what, Andre? It's German, so maybe
it's German, yes.
Yeah, so conversion
Optimierung.
Thank you. I studied French in school. I'm Canadian, so English and French.
Okay.
My German is not that good. I can say Schmetterling, and that's about it.
That's good. That's a good start.
Thank you. So back to Andre. I mean, as well as being a prolific blogger and speaker, he's also the founder of the International Conversion Alliance, which is a network of CRO agencies around the globe. He's the host and organizer of Conversion Summit, which is Germany's leading conference about conversion optimization. So in all effects, I mean, everyone here today, you've got like the man for CRO. So Andre, with that, I am going to hand over the reins to you. I tend to talk a lot, so I'll hop in every now and again with some questions. So everyone, one thing I would like to mention, you'll see the chat widget in your GoToWebinar control panel. Please share any questions you've got in that chat panel, and I'll share them with Andre. You can also tweet, join our chat on Twitter, as it says in the bottom left there, @Morris, @Unbounce, #Unwebinar, and then we'll make sure to tackle those questions throughout the session. But Andre, without further ado, I'm going to give you the keyboard and mouse control for the slides here. You should see, I believe, a little question show up on your end. Let me switch back. There you go. Do you got that there?
Okay. So I can control it right now?
Yeah. Well, that's the idea. There you go. There you go.
Cool. Thank you very much, and thanks for the nice introduction, Ryan. Yeah, this is kind of my first webinar in English, so I try my very best. And if there's anything that you don't understand, yeah, please feel free just to designing psychologically powerful landing pages. It's about design and what I like is this saying from old David Ogilvy. I think it's now 60 years old, and this says it pretty much all about conversion rate optimization. And apart from all the things that you said about me, this is my favorite quote about conversion optimization, 60 years old. So that's what we are talking about. I want to give you a little bit a brief overview about our history, because once, I think it's now nearly 10 years ago, we discovered some interesting phenomena that today with A/B testing we can use it very well. And this started back in, I would say, 2002. So like 13 years ago, we had to analyze and optimize this website. I'm sorry, it's in German, so you have to believe me what I'm talking about. This is a travel website, and you can see design is kind of 90s. And this had a very, very low conversion rate, so nearly 0%. And people there come to us and said, you know what? This is so complicated because you can book a flight, a hotel, everything together like modules. Nobody understands it. This is why we have a low conversion rate. So what we did at this time was a usability lab, user research with around 20 people. And we asked them to book a flight there and book a hotel. And the thing was that 20 out of the 20 people were able to book their flight there. So this had nothing to do with a real conversion rate that we observed there. So as soon as people were motivated, they were able to buy there. So we completely changed the test construction of this user research. We did a second lab. We called it Motivation Lab. And there we asked another question. We showed the people, the participants of this lab, we showed them 3 different slides. And we asked, where would you buy? And the funny thing is that nearly brought us to the conversion rate of 0%, because nobody wanted to book a travel at the website of our client. And when we asked why, what's the reason? Why do you think all the other websites are better for booking your travel? We found out that it's all about like implicit codes. People get a story in their mind when they're visiting a website. They have the feeling that one website is more for family people, or another website is if you're looking for cheap things. And so this is where we started to research in kind of neuromarketing. We didn't call it neuromarketing then. We just knew it's about colors and pictures and all these codes. They project a certain image into the mind of buyers, of users. And so a couple of years later, this is what when a webinar is about neuromarketing, you need to have this iceberg model slide, but it fits perfectly to what we observed in this lab, because when I don't know, I think you can see my mouse, right? When we asked people, why did you decide for one or the other website, it was like on this level. It was about elements where people could hardly tell what's it all about. So we tried to find out what happens in the mind of the people. How does it work? I mean, we were not brain people or researchers. We were designers at a web agency. The word conversion optimization was not coined then. I think Brian Eisenberg, he wrote his first book about conversion optimization, I think 3 or 4 years later. And so our mantra, I don't know, can you say this in English? Our mantra was, we went to all the management people, C-level of our clients, and telling them that understanding the user's decision-making process is the one key to boosting your ROI. And the funny thing is, what happened is that, like, this was not really management like. So managers didn't like this. They were very data-driven, number crunching, analytics just came up. Everybody was doing analytics. So all our clients, they just understand blah 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 blah, something with ROI. But to analyze emotions and implicit codes and colors, that sounded like very weak to managers. So we needed a way to prove that emotions are really a critical factor for ROI. And that was back, I think, in 2008 when we decided to rent an fMRI scanner. That was kind of crazy. It was an idea of a colleague of mine, and as you can see, this is a screenshot of my Mac here projected in front of the scanner. We did this in Berlin, and to rent the scanner was not that expensive. Expensive was it to rent the whole team that you need to operate this scanner. And we tried to come to the point that we can prove that web design affects emotions, and emotions affect like buying decisions. That was the idea.
Andre, can I know you're on the Zappos slide now, but I'm curious, and there's a comment here. How did that conversation go when you were trying to pitch, renting an MRI machine to look at web design? Because those two seem, I mean, obviously now talking about it, it's so obvious, but at the moment, how was the buy-in?
This was, it was hard to find somebody, and we were very lucky. It was by accident. We got a contact of somebody at the university in Berlin, and they had the scanner, and they wanted to go more in marketing research. So this is where we pitched the story and said, you can analyze TV ads, you can analyze packaging design, all this stuff, but it was done before. We said, nobody ever analyzed what happens in the brain when people are online shopping. So that was kind of our pitch, and that was very interesting for the people. We even had the German television there asking, so you're trying to manipulate people, you're evil. And we said, no, we just want to find out what happens.
Just trying to understand them, not manipulate. All right, well, I'll let you get on, but I do want to comment. You said earlier this was the first time you'd ever presented in English.
Yes.
We have probably 5 comments and questions from people saying your English is phenomenal, and they are jealous that they don't speak more languages. So keep it up. You're doing amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And the funny thing is, at this time, we decided to analyze U.S. websites or American online shops because we completely wanted to eliminate the effect that the brand has to people. We really wanted to know how does the design itself work, what happens in the brain. So we showed the people different designs, and you have to show them like in a changing way, like design A, design B, interruption, design A, design B. So one of these experiments was that we showed people the design of Zappos.com. At this time, it looked like this. So you see, it's a couple of years ago. And the other design was this, Shoe Guru. I don't know if people in America know it, but for us, these were 2 designs that were extremely contrary, and you need this contrast if you want to measure the difference. The same is fMRI scanning, and A/B testing is kind of the same. So you're looking for significant changes when you're looking for the activity in the brain. It's measuring like the amount of oxygen that's in your blood, because the fMRI scanner can see like which kind of atoms are inside there. And here you can see the different pictures. So green is like screenshot A, then gray is interruption, blue is screenshot B. So they will be shown like one after the other. And then you do like a statistical analysis and try to find out where are significant differences. So the thing that was most interesting for us was this area, which is called nucleus accumbens, and this is like the center of your brain, like some people call it the addiction center. So this thing is active if you're, for example, if you're smoking and you have a desire for a cigarette, then nucleus accumbens will glow. Okay, so if you see a great red wine in the menu of a restaurant and you fancy it, or you see the new iPhone 6 or whatever, and you want to have it, nucleus accumbens will be active. So people call it the reward center. So if people have the feeling that they have to reward themselves with a cigarette or red wine or Apple product, then this will be active. And the funny thing, as you can see here, this is like the compilation of all scans where we've shown the Zappos screen, and nearly nothing happens right there. And when we switch to Shoe Guru, you see, there it happens. So you have a lot of activity there, which means nothing else than people really fancy this Shoe Guru thing, even if they don't know it, they don't know a price, they don't know anything. It's all about the implicit codes of this website. It's all about the design. So this was like the first step in researching how we can work with emotions and the implicit codes to enhance like the ROI. But the thing is, you can't prove people that this is economically that this makes sense on an economical way. So we had to prove what do these learnings make, or what is the result if you do the same in an A/B test. So now that we learned kind of design principles, in the next step, we wanted to prove this from an economical way. So we did an A/B test. I hope so far everybody understands what we've done. This is like a preview of the result. I will explain you the 5-step process with this example that we did a couple of months after the fMRI scanner. We searched for a client that is also selling shoes, because we wanted to reproduce the result of this scanner. We realized that it's about the clarity of the design and kind of the messaging. So this is how we completely came to this 5-step process. The result of this test from an e-commerce perspective was great. We had 80% add to cart improvement there, which is like to prove what happens right there on this page. But we also had like a 22% uplift in bottom line, which in e-commerce is net sales. So after all taxes and returns and so on. So this was a brilliant result. And first of all, we found out that it's not about the features of the product, So a lot of I think the biggest mistake people do in designing landing pages, they're talking a lot about the features. And with this, what we found out in the fMRI scanner and with this A/B test, it's all about the people buying the products and how they feel when they buy the products.
That's Andre, that's something that I find really good copywriters tend to know anyway. Well, they tend to know as well, they just approach it slightly differently. It's the difference between very I and we focused language versus very you focused language. focusing on your features, your benefits versus the value to someone else and why they will be different once they adopt your solution, purchase your product, etc.
Yes, exactly. I would completely agree to this. It's all about how does it feel for the people to use the product? How does it make them better? And not about all the details of the product. So this is like a pyramid, maybe, of like a hierarchy of different elements you should talk about. In this test, I mean, it's a little bit, I don't know, it's like marketing talking, saying we activate the buy button in the brain of people. Every neuromarketer would completely disagree that there is any kind of a buy button, but yeah, it comes close to it. So let me show you the process. I think it's very easy because usually when people want to optimize their landing pages, you're sitting in front of the landing page and you ask yourself, what can we change, And I think you need this kind of a framework or a process to facilitate this question and to like deconstruct it into several smaller questions. So this is how we did it. First of all, back to this example that I showed you with a 79% uplift. The first thing we did, because we realized there is this kind of desire going on in the fMRI scanner, we asked ourselves, which kind of people are buying these shoes? What are the typical customers of this retailer? And there were some personas already existing, but we tried to make them like sharper or to focus on like a core element of this persona. So we had 3 core personas, and what we did is we tried to get it down on one sentence for each persona that completely describes the core motivation of the persona. Why am I buying this product? And now comes like the secret sauce. So first, you create a persona and try to get it to the point. I think most personas that I see that are created, they are way too much on the surface. So it's about what's the name and the age, where is somebody living, and so on. This doesn't help you a lot. What helps you a lot if you find out what is the core motivation. So what we are using here is a German model. So listening to this webinar is maybe a competitive advantage for you because this model is not very known in the rest of the world, because these were neuromarketers that developed this, and I think their focus was on the German market. So a lot of you maybe know the 4 buying modalities of buyers, and it's kind of the same. This model shows like the 3 core motivations, the 4 main implicit goals that everybody has. And you can see this is about stimulants, which means I want new things. I want fun, creativity, and so on. So I want to try new stuff. And this is about people saying, for me, the core motivation is to show that I have maybe more power than other people. So it's about status, belonging to an elite or whatever. And the third motivation is here, balance, saying I don't want to change anything. So this is all about security and stuff like this. The special thing is, like in mixing colors with RGB model, this model shows you like all the unique implicit motivations or emotions that people can have in between. So this model is great if you ask yourself, where could I place these personas? So let me just switch back a slide. As I said, this guy, he says, I don't want to be mainstream. I want to be somebody special. And this guy says, I want to show everybody that I have a great style. Like, I want to be adored or whatever. And this guy says, I just buy brands because of the quality. So now you can now you can search for the spots on these values and ask yourself, where are these people located? So that's what we did. Of course, this one, who doesn't want to be mainstream, it's about extravagance and creativity, individuality. So he's much located here in this stimulant area. While this guy who said, I want to be first in style, this is kind of a dominance type, okay? And the last one, he said, I want good quality, that's why I buy this brand. He's located somewhere here. So why do we do this and why do we use this model? Because it helps us to shape a landing page and to focus it on exactly this kind of emotion. So what we do is we deduce like the implicit motivations of the people, and then we create landing pages that fit to these motivations. So here we were playing around with the key visual of the page. So this should show all this, what's about with creativity, walking around on traffic lights, whatever, I don't know. But, you know, being different, you know. This should show quality, and this should show the idea of being really something special, you know. This is outstanding. This is black is a unique implicit code for dominance. So this is what our designers thought about how to translate these motivations into a landing page. And I would say this is a critical point, because here every designer would bring in his like personal opinion. So this is difficult if you ask yourself, how can I design a landing page that shows quality on an implicit level? So it's a big danger that designers bring in their own idea. But first of all, this is what we did. We applied these learnings to our landing page. And to make it sure that this is not only our fantasy, we retested these designs. So it's very easy. I mean, it looks complicated, but it is not. Actually, you can print out these pages, look for people that don't know what it's all about, show it to these people for maybe 5 seconds, and ask them, what's your first association? In this case, we prepared some cards. We laminated some cards with these kind of words, so people could pick some of the words. And this is the result of our retest for each of these designs. So you can see we really got there. So this design really worked on the area of dominance. This design worked in this area, and this design is a little bit broader, but also worked in this balance area. So for us, that was okay. So it's important. That's why I say it's dangerous, because designers always do it in their own style. So this is why we retested the landing page like this. And of course, then we made an A/B test, because that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to prove that it's all about emotions. It's the same product, same price, same everything, same traffic. And what's special about it? We had like a control that is like the original layout, and we had like another control that just has the optimized layout, but with the same content. There was no like emotional focus there. So improving the layout already gave an 8% uplift in add to cart rate, which is nice. But focusing on the right emotion, like the core motivation of the people, that had kind of the biggest uplift here on this shop.
Andre, when your designers were building these landing pages, how did they figure out that, or how did they decide that the designs they were working on were related to the emotions for each of the personas? Was it through surveys or like user experience testing?
No, that was completely, that really completely came up by developing the personas. So we have to say that was still a theory, a hypothesis, until we tested it. And that's what I like so much about personas. If you combine it together with this limbic map, you can ensure that the persona you develop is really focused on a certain emotion or motivation. But to be honest, at this point, it was completely our fantasy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, early on, with anything like this, you always have to start with a hypothesis, and then it will be
Yes.
validated either through the A/B test or through some form
Yes.
of research. And was it primarily through A/B testing that you wound up validating the designs, or
Yes.
or again, did you, have like surveys on the site where you would ask people what they thought of the images?
Yeah, no, it's only these two steps. We had this qualitative research with the association tests here. So this was not a public test or on-site survey. This is face-to-face, asking people like on the street or in a cafe or whatever. And the only way to validate it was the A/B testing, because this is the only quantitative method we use there.
And ultimately, I mean, that's what matters most. You're looking at
Exactly.
revenue here. You don't care if people associate a particular word with a shoe if it doesn't sell more of that shoe.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say. So this is why I think the combination of using personas, like to make them really focused on a certain value or motivation, is a very powerful tool. I would say still nobody would believe what you're saying when you're developing a persona, because it's a completely qualitative view. So this is why using personas and developing hypotheses and then A/B testing it, this is such a powerful combination. I would say the best hypothesis we have here in the past 5 years, they came out of personas and customer journey mapping.
Good stuff. There was a follow-up to the previous question. It was Amanda who had asked about, figuring out how the designer should build the pages based on the personas. And she was wondering, if you have multiple buyer personas, how do you know which one you should cater your page for? And would you say then that comes along with the validation afterwards, where it's ultimately looking at like the revenue generated and the ROI?
Yeah, and this is an important question, because I realized that there's also the idea that a landing page needs to like combine all the stuff for the different personas or buyer modalities. And I would say you should test that, because our experience that it is better to have a really focused version.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sells more. But I mean, everybody could now combine several things. I will show in another case later how you can combine certain principles. But our philosophy is to focus on certain personas.
Perfect. That's I will say, I think it's very easy for people. I see it a lot with our customers. They want to create something for everyone and inadvertently create something for nobody.
Exactly.
So you have to intentionally exclude certain people and focus on one target group.
Yeah, there's a saying which is in average Switzerland is flat, so and it's yeah.
Perfect.
So
it's
this
also
is
a cultural education here. This is great.
Exactly. But this is the problem of a lot of organizations that take care about target groups and demographic average sizes of people between 35 and 45 and things like this. This is completely flat, so it has no appeal to anybody. So this is why I think personas is so much powerful to create a focused archetype than taking care about the average. Okay, so let's continue the story, because I know, of course, this was e-commerce. Here we are talking about landing pages. So I want to show you some examples of different landing pages. And yeah, what most people told us after we showed this case study, they said, yeah, nice, it works for shoes, but we are not selling shoes. We are selling something completely unemotional. Or people said, you know, we are in B2B, so we can't work with emotions. And I would say I completely disagree with this, because at the end it's always humans sitting there and deciding. So I have several examples. First is an example. Usually I ask people, what do you think is the most unemotional product you can think of? And a lot of people, when I'm at a real conference or whatever, talking to real people, they shout things like toilet paper or whatever.
That's exactly. I thought insurance and toilet paper. Those were the two things I had.
Insurance, toilet paper, yeah. But we work for a lot of insurances, and I can tell you they're completely not unemotional. They're completely emotional. And there's something worse than toilet paper, and I don't know what the English translation is actually. It's like pads that you can put under your arms against sweat marks. Okay.
Andre, I'm just going to interject and say, as a Canadian, I don't think I have ever seen these in my entire life.
Actually, it comes from the US. This is a company that started to sell them in Germany. And they have this single-purpose landing page because they're only selling this thing. And it did not work at all. So they came to us and asked, can you help us with A/B testing? And that was another case study we did. You can find it at WitchTest1, I think, in the archive as well. Because here we tried to ask ourselves, you know, if the corporate identity tells us everything is fixed and we can only change the copy, can we also emotionally focus on certain motivations only by changing the copy? And this is what we did right here. So again, this is German, so this is why I gave you a little translation of like the core positioning, like how we put this text and how we can associate it with a certain position in this kind of limbic map. So as you can say, this is all about controlling the situation. This is a balance motivation, and this is about feeling fresh and easy, so you find it at a different spot. And this version, it's about perfect look and you deserve something. I think this point is on the wrong position. It should be up here. This is like the dominance version. And again, this worked really well for us, because that version of the page had a 93% uplift, and that was great because we realized that it's not only about the design of the page, you also control this emotional positioning with the copy that you're writing. So it's important to have the right copy. And to come to a more complicated way how to apply this principle, we did this for this client called FriendScout. This is a dating platform, and the problem here is that, of course, they want to have everybody. If you ask them, what's your core persona? They say, yeah, whole Germany, or at least everybody who is single or not married. So in this case, we realized when we look at the different AdWords campaigns, we can see a certain intent here. And again, we can use the limbic map to locate this intent on the limbic map. And this client, they had like one size fits all landing page, no matter which campaign, no matter which keyword. So I think this is an error you see a lot. So what we did is we we developed different types of landing pages with different copy and also with different images to fit to the certain intents. And to locate the core motivation, again, we used the limbic map. That helped us a lot. It's like the key to a system. So we found out that with 21 variations, looks a lot, but this is why you have systems like Unbounce. Okay, so each of these landing pages was focused on a certain core motivation, and we thought we did not change that much, and also it was hard to analyze the intent from all the AdWords campaigns, but we instantly got 15% more premium users, paying users, which was a great result that we never had by just testing with the whole traffic. So in this case, we learned that they had so many data, and they thought they know everything about the people, like from the data level. But we realized that using this limbic map helped us to find out what are we looking for, and we're looking for an idea how we can match motivations with a solution, and that's what we done. So last example, this is about selling copying machines, and the problem about selling copiers, I don't know if you call it like this.
Yeah, photocopier, that's exactly it.
Photocopier, okay. The thing is, either you have one or you don't need one. So selling photocopiers is a hard job. And our client was Minolta, and Minolta Austria especially. And we found out that on their landing page, they're focusing on two different things. They focus on price. So this campaign said you can get it very cheap. And additionally, they focused on scarcity, like you only get it for 2 days. But we realized that, like from a graphical point of view, scarcity is very low. So we separated it in two different landing pages because we wanted to know what is more important, the cheap price or the scarcity thing. So this version is focusing on the price. You can see here more price signals, and I'm sorry, it's a little bit small, but there's no messaging about the limitation of time, which is different here. Here we say only 48 hours. There's a countdown, and we reduced pricing signals. So, I mean, both versions need price signals and scarcity. We just emphasize them on A and B. And the great result was compared to control, focusing on price worked already better, but focusing on the urgency even worked more. So I think this is what a lot of optimizers already know, that you need to work with this kind of persuasion principles. But when we took it from there, we developed different layouts that focused even more on the winning principles. We tried to clarify the design and things like this. But everything we did was either the same, so we had no significant change, or in this example, it was even lower. So we thought maybe we've reached already kind of a global optimum with just one test. But of course, this was not what we wanted to do, because of course this is a client of us, and we wanted to sell them more tests. So we said, let's develop a persona, because we have to find out what really motivates the people. So this is the thing we did. So again, we followed this 5-step process. Looked where is the persona located emotionally. So the typical Austrian copier customer, it's a lot about safety and balance and security. So together, you see here the values that are close to this core value: our home, our tradition, reliability, quality, family. So
how do you know exactly where they fall kind of on that limbic map? How do you know what emotions will resonate with them? Is it through surveys?
no, it's completely, as I said, it's completely fantasy. You know, we do a workshop when we're developing personas together with a client, and the thing we do is that we invite people that have real contact with real customers, like people from the customer service or people from sales, and we ask them, what kind of guy is this man? And the more we know about him, the clearer the picture gets where he is located. So at the end, we take some like colored stickers, and everybody can stick like 3 stickers to the limbic map, and so we're trying to get this image really sharp that we have of a persona. But again, this is completely hypothesis. It's a qualitative instrument. It's our fantasies still, so we don't know if it's true.
Fantasy, but it's an informed fantasy if you're having people who have direct contact with your customers involved in the process.
Exactly. And this limbic map, we found out it's a very helpful tool. It's already validated through market research. So that these words like home and safety and security, that they stand together, is not an error. This is by purpose, and every time we work with this tool, we realize it's true and it helps us. So to be honest, this is completely qualitative world. No proof that this is true.
You're convincing me, and I'm sure you are convincing the 250 marketers watching right now, plus all those who will be watching the recording.
But this is what I have to say. I see a lot of marketers developing personas, presenting them to their management, and a lot of times I think it happens that management asks, do you believe what you did there? And why? And of course, we don't know. It's not a quantitative method, it's qualitative, and we are still on the level of hypothesis. And then we do A/B testing. We develop the what does it mean now that we know persona is here. And in this case, we knew we have to focus on the relation, people that are in this balance area. You see here, you see family, bonding, home. So we knew this is for people in Austria, so we put in the Austrian flag saying, thank you, Austria. There was a study saying that Minolta is like #1 copier in Austria, and we said, you made us #1, focusing on the relation. Again, we said thank you, we repeated the flag and things like this. So to have the position of the persona on the limbic map, to know where the persona is located, helped us to clarify the content and how we create a landing page. It's really better for this kind of people. So, and again, that was like the first test out of a row from 3 tests. The first 2 were unsuccessful, and this was the first test where we again and that's like my main case study for this principle. We completely, after not using our own principle, we changed to this framework for Minolta Austria, and at the end, after 6 optimization rounds, we had like 8 times higher sales than before. And I would say, apart from this scarcity thing that we found out at the beginning without the framework, it was completely the work with personas and the emotional motivations that was responsible for this success. So this is why I would say with emotional resonance, you get much more out of your landing pages than when you're just like saying, I'm sorry for this word, dumbly applying persuasion principles, because you have to be in contact with your people, and that's what this kind of emotional resonance is all about. And once you're in contact with the people, then you can, of course, use persuasion principles additionally. So, to sum it up again, this is the process: create personas, analyze what's their core motivation, what's their implicit goal, apply it. Like step 4 is maybe optional. So this is just for getting the designer's style out of your landing page and to make sure you really hit the motivation. If you're sure you can do this, you don't need this association test, and it's even just a 4-step process. But I would say to A/B test your improvements. You have to do this to validate your hypothesis. So that's it from me. Thank you very much, and yeah, I hope maybe we have some questions.
Andre, I think you have blown a lot of minds today.
Okay.
There's a lot of really, really positive feedback coming in from Twitter. We have a number of people who've said this is one of the best webinars they've attended and feel like this is all very practical. But there are lots of questions, so I'd really love to get into a little bit of discussion here. I'm going to switch back to the previous slide, going to your 5-step process, because I think if we break it down, step number 1, when you're creating the personas, that's the process you mentioned where you get together with a group. You can bring in, let's say, like the customer service people, kind of survey them, ask them about the pains your customers.
Salespeople are good.
Salespeople.
Yeah.
So sales, service, support, that anyone who has a relationship with your target audience. On that note, I will just say there was a tweet that came in from Christy. Christy said, have you ever tested B2B industrial news sites, and what kind of human emotion could we find there? And kind of going back to what you had mentioned earlier, if you speak with the people who have a direct relationship with your consumer, then they should be able to identify that. Like, would you agree?
Yes, of course, and we have a lot of B2B customers. Unfortunately, I don't have a case study in the B2B area that I can show publicly, but we have clients selling like office supplies, selling chemical equipment, and again, here it's maybe a little bit more complicated to develop the personas because each persona is not standing for itself. In a B2B situation, a lot of times you have what we call a buying committee. So you have to find out who's the one that gives like the instructions. I need like a new paper for the copier. And who's the one that decides where will I order this? And what are the core motivations of these people? So, for example, for office supply, we found out it's not always important to focus on price. It's important to focus on price if you are selling to like small businesses where the boss has his assistant, a personal assistant, or whoever. And for this person, for example, the emotional implicit motivation could be, I should buy something for the right quality. It could cost maybe €5 more, but if it comes a day later, or if the paper is crap and destroys the copier, then I really have a problem. So, and again, this is an implicit motivation. So it's important that if people look at the website, they instantly need the feeling that you deliver at the right time with the right quality. So you can focus on, at B2B, you can also focus on this implicit motivations.
And if you speak with your sales staff, as you were saying earlier, or your customer service staff, they'll know, oh, when I receive these calls, it tends to be, the assistant calling in, he or she cares the most about it arriving on time, and they just want it to be high quality because they don't want to get in trouble. whereas the boss
Exactly.
is kind of like nickeling and diming. So I mean that's really
Exactly.
great advice. So there were a number of questions, like Stephanie on Twitter here also asked for some advice on developing strong B2B personas. So Stephanie, I hope that helps you as well. But Andre, on that note, on the topic of developing personas, because there were a lot of questions about the process you go through. Do you have any kind of a resource or like a reference we could direct people to for like a good method for developing personas themselves?
Oh, I'm sorry, not right now. We developed this this process by ourselves. We saw a lot of personas that clients already had developed, and what I can give personas we saw, they stayed too much on the surface of everything. They did not ask themselves what is the core motivation of this persona. You don't need all these mood boards of what car is he or she driving.
What yogurt do they love? Piece, if you want to get to that implicit motivation, where put it up on a wall, give the people involved in the process a couple of sticky notes or tacks, and have them go highlight the handful of words related to the customers, and that is the next step. That's
exactly.
So as I was saying, step one, obviously, here's develop your persona. Step two is deduce the implicit motivation, and you gave us the limbic map for that.
Yes.
I would say step three, you spoke about designers, and that's really, I think that's where it ties in kind of the research that you do as a neuromarketer to your design team, have them apply that to your landing pages and so on. There are still a number of questions. I know there are some questions that have come up on Twitter. So Andre, are you okay to kind of comb through Twitter and help us answer some of the questions we haven't been able to reach during today's session?
Of course.
Awesome. We really appreciate it. I know I've been answering quite a few. Haley has been answering some. Stephanie's been answering some. But for everybody here, if we weren't able to get to your question, I apologize. There was just so much valuable content to go through. But please tweet. You can see again the Twitter handles in the bottom left. Tweet @Morris, @Unbounce, and hashtag #unwebinar, and we'll make sure to answer your questions to the best of our abilities. And one thing I will say before we move on as well, we did a previous webinar with Angie Schottmuller, where she spoke a lot about buying modalities and oh, excuse me, no, that wasn't a webinar. She spoke at our conference earlier this year where she spoke about buying modalities. And Stephanie, I'll have Stephanie share that resource to everybody, because in regards to creating personas, it was a really good, really good approach. But thank you, Andre. It's really appreciated. This was amazing.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think you'll have a lot. I mean, I know you already have a number, like a big following of fans. You're going to have a lot more after this, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, Andre, I know your time is very valuable, so I'll allow you to. I'm going to stick around, and I'm going to be going through a demo of Unbounce as well. But is there anything else you'd like to share with everyone before you leave? Oh, looks like.
I just wanted to say thank you. This was my, yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say thank you for having me. This was my first webinar in English, so I hope everybody could understand me. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, for your first webinar in English, I can say you set a very high bar. So, no, it was phenomenal. I don't think it crossed anyone's minds. But thanks, Andre.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.